Well, joining us now, a very special guest, Shobha Gupta. Shobha Gupta has been Bilkis Bano's lawyer for decades. She's fought a relentless battle for justice. Ms. Gupta, you know, the battle initially to get justice for Bilkis took so many years, and then there was justice. And then that seemed to have disappeared when these men came out of jail. Is Bilkis satisfied now that once again there is justice before her and that the majesty of the Supreme Court has ruled?
Vishnu, the problem is I can barely hear you. If you can just, the volume can be increased.
We'll increase that, but I'll speak a bit louder. Can you share with us Bilkis Bano's reaction?
She is elated. She is very satisfied, happy. She has tears, but tears of satisfaction, sigh of relief. Satisfaction, contentment. I don't know whether I can call it joy or not, but yes, satisfaction. She is happy that justice is done, justice prevailed, and the rule of law has been upheld.
Shobhaji, the Supreme Court said that the exemption order lacks competence, and they berated the Gujarat government for passing such an order without application of mind. Very strong words. How would you react to some of the key points mentioned by the court, which applies not only to Bilkis Bano, but is perhaps a message in other such cases as well?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the position of law had been same, that it cannot be a mechanical exercise. It cannot be something either to give favor or just to rule out without application of mind. So there has to be a due application of mind. The factors have been laid down even before. But in the present case, you know, everything was so glaring. Even the mistakes which have been committed were glaring, were on the face of it. So it's not as if, you know, you did not need the rocket science to understand what mistakes they had. It was a favored decision taken. The government, the state of Gujarat, had used the order dated 13th of May to give them remission, treating the said order as if a mandate to grant remission. And despite the fact that every single stakeholder said no, had opined negatively, still they processed further. As a matter of fact, except Radhesham, nobody else approached Supreme Court. Still they had proceeded further as if there was a direction for all. And how come the decision of those stakeholders changed in few months? So much so that there was an argument and which been now dealt with and very heavily responded to by the court, that it could be any magistrate, it could be any district judge. So apparently it was a decision, you know, as if a decision taken first and process applied later. And if I dare say, unmindfully.
No, and ma'am, you aren't saying unmindfully. The court has made some fairly strong remarks. The court, for example, said that the exercise of power by the state of Gujarat is an instance of usurpation of power and an abuse of power. That's the bottom line, that you can't just decide to do something which is devoid of any law.
So, you know, they had an excuse to say we have a direction by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said by the earlier order of 13th of May 2022 that the state of Gujarat is the
Go ahead, Shobhaji, we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, court has even dealt with this aspect that if you had taken an objection before, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
If the state of Gujarat had taken an objection in that Radhesham's writ petition that we are not the appropriate government, law is clear, the provision of law is clear, the law laid down by Supreme Court is clear on that aspect, including the 5 judges bench judgment in V. Sriharan. then how come the state of Gujarat not file a review petition but proceeded to implement that order, not only implementing in terms of entertaining the application of Radheshyam, but application of rest of them also. And then showing that jet speed to proceed further, and suddenly overnight opinion of everybody changed. And there is no reasons why, how come suddenly the opinion of all the stakeholders changed.
Shobha ji,
and then during course of arguments, you have CBI opinion coming through, which is again changed. So, you know, that's why I say the things are so glaring.
But Shobha ji, tell me this, you know, the panel justified approving, ma'am, why don't I just ask you a quick question? Now, in the process of the release of these men earlier on, the panel justified approving this release of the convicts, saying that there were sanskari Brahmins who had already served 14 years in prison and had displayed good behavior. Number one, what does them being Brahmins or any other caste or whatever it is have to do with the case, number one? And number two, was it not always strange that all of them displayed good behavior at the same time and all of them got out?
And except this line good behavior, you would not find anything in the file of remission of all of these convicts. That what exactly is that? Everybody turned saint. And what exactly was the, like, what was that change of behavior? Because when we were doing the matter, when the notices were issued, we have seen all kind of tricks applied by them. So do the good behavior people does that? The way like summons were, notices were ignored, the deliberate attempt to delay the proceedings. Nothing was reflecting, like what was the reflection of the good behavior? And my point is like whether the good behavior alone, assume they had become saint, still could the remission come in their way, giving the facts of this case, the barbaric crime they had committed.
You know, ma'am, the convicts, when they were released, were given a hero's welcome. There were garlands, there were sweets, they were seen sharing a stage with an MP, I believe, and an MLA. Do you believe that this was, you know, an entire travesty, the celebration of the release of men who were involved in one of the most horrific crimes of the Gujarat riots, and they were being garlanded?
So that was, you know, putting salt over injury, like that not only the release, but that added salt to injury when the celebrations were projected like this. I don't know what are those people going to do now. Should they, God knows what is the procedure now when they are going to surrender pursuant to the direction of this court, the judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court? Let them stage some show even for that. God knows, like, what do I say as a lawyer? That was...
Shobha ji, as I understand it, they're going to challenge this order of the Supreme Court.
Sorry?
As I understand it, they're going to challenge this order of the Supreme Court, which is a process, and that they're going to try and push whatever they can, you know, to avoid going back to jail. But that's a process.
No. But, you know, when it comes to the direction to surrender, that is only 2 weeks time given.
Yes. So and in 2 weeks, they would need to surrender and they would try and appeal. That's what their lawyer has told me.
Unless they are filing a review petition and court is entertaining and they have given a stay, which is far-fetched. We have never seen some kind of, you know, stays coming through in matters like this and a detailed judgment of this nature. So I don't see any possibility where they can avoid surrender.
Yep. You know, Shobha ji, another point in this which we've discussed in the past.
Now.
Sure, I understand. Shobha ji, you know, when these convicts were released, Bilkis had not even been told. I mean, this came as a bolt out of the blue, that the men who'd raped her, people who were involved in murders in that entire case around her, were released and she had no idea. She was not told. There was a security concern for her as well.
Can you just repeat the last line?
There was a security concern for her as well. When they were released, she wasn't told.
Absolutely. Security concerns, they revisited those last 17 years. The first question was, should we again go for hiding? And they went for hiding as a matter of fact. They were fearful about their children. They were fearful about themselves. The 2019 judgment of Supreme Court, when they were granted the highest compensation ever, she was granted. Court had noted that she lived a life of nomad for 17 years. And the first concern was, are we going to relive that period? Are we going to again live a life of nomad? And what do we do with the education of the children? But they actually went in for hiding for some time. And so there was serious concern, not only for them, but the entire locality.
Yeah. Ma'am, it's been such a long battle for you as well. And I really appreciate you joining us and sharing what Bilkis is feeling now. There's that sense of relief and hopefully, justice will, justice has prevailed. It's taken time, so much time, but there is justice. And for our viewers, before I go on to my next interview, a reminder for those who weren't there or didn't follow this closely. Bilkis Bano was 21 years old. She was 5 months pregnant. She was gang raped while fleeing during the communal riots that broke out after the fire in the Sabarmati Express, in which 59 car sevaks were killed. Her 3-year-old daughter was among the 7 family members slaughtered in the riots, one of the most horrific instances ever reported in independent India. There is justice once again for Bilkis Bano. Shobha ji, thank you very much for being with us.